Hey everybody, I am on for the midweek message reveal Wednesday, October 16th. All right, so welcome to the energy this week. Welcome as well to our Supe Full Moon in Aries that we have tomorrow morning. I think it's hitting at like 7:25 or something like that Eastern, so subtract and add accordingly there. But what's special and crazy town, of course, we got to make it extra about this super full moon in Aries is that it also is interacting with what's called a Cardinal Grand Cross. Okay, so that is when we have 4 planets in cardinal signs that form squares and oppositions to each other, all while this is occurring. So we have the moon, the sun, in opposition and in a grand cardinal cross with Mars and Pluto. So it is square Mars and Pluto. And it is essentially creating this amazing formation. With it brings a fiery, intense energy that is designed to create tension. And that tension is designed dynamically for it to kind of reach a boiling point in order for you to enact change. Whether that change is enacted by you, by something else, there is a force for something to get moved through, so immediate action needs to be taken place. So if you're feeling that sense of urgency that's coming through, Aries energy is real big on the urgency, and a feeling of let's do it now, I want it now, let's get it done. But temper that with the Libra energy that is saying, but we need to balance it first, and we need to make it fair and equitable, and we need to figure out a way for everyone's needs to get met and heard. And a lot of times that's not possible. And then we involve the moon, and there's a lot of feelings around the urgency and the wanting for things to be completed, the desire for something to be talked about, or not being able to communicate what it is you really want to say. So if you're feeling in a space where that balance is inconsistent, you are not able to fully express, or you feel that if you were to do so, it's going to be reprimanded, or there's stipulations around it. That's the energy of now. Now with full moons, we're looking to release. So those tensions, release them. Those fears, release them. The belief that your voice is not worth hearing or doesn't do anything, that your effort, that your entry, that your will in the world is not something that is accepted or counts. Everything counts. You count. What you think, feel, do, say, and exist as matters. And maybe you needed to hear that. All right. So that's what's going on astrologically, energetically, that is affecting things, as well as solar flares. And then we have all of these, great disasters that are happening as well, kicking up that energy and bringing through that feeling of this needs to be addressed. We're not going to wait on this any longer. So that urge is there. That vibe is there. All right. So before I get started, just want to say thank you. If you're interested in working with me, please reach out. Got all kinds of really cool stuff going on. So please watch this space and check my website. You can always message me with questions. Feel free to fill out a contact form, and I will get back to y'all and see what's going on. All right. So this week I kind of just went with a jumble. It felt right, and that's how we do things anymore. It has to feel right. Okay, so the energy this week, we're going to get started with 1. So go ahead and get yourself prepared for the channeling that's coming through right now. Okay, so if you chose 1, connecting with your energy 1, I feel a real sense of purpose. You're feeling that there is something more to your day-to-day that is needed. There's something more fulfilling that needs to kind of, either you need to pull it out yourself from what it is that you're doing or wanting, or you are needing to define it more and shift and move yourself in a direction that takes you to where you want to go. Because you're not going to find the fulfillment that you are seeking if you just kind of sit there and say that something feels like it's missing all the time. That's going to lead to that sort of sinking feeling that I feel in the belly here with you 1. It's just kind of a feeling of disappointment, and at the same time a feeling of concern, where it's kind of like, I don't really know what to do, I also am kind of motivated into not doing anything. And that vibe is for real. I feel that vibe for real. It's a tough one to deal with. I do believe, though, one, that this is going to be something that will resolve with the gut punch energy that's going to be coming through with this full moon, and the Cardinal Grand Cross. Once this moves through and kind of brings that additional like wrapping up vibe, where there's going to be a clearer path for you to follow by. You're kind of winging it, and that's okay. And just know that you don't have to have all this stuff figured out. I think that there's a feeling too. Take yourself off the hook. Take yourself off the hook. You're holding yourself responsible for some things that you don't need to hold yourself responsible for, first off. So relinquish that and release that here with this energy of the moon. You're also feeling a sense of urgency around whether or not there's like a timeline on this, like you're going to miss it. You're not going to miss it. It's just going to look different. And that difference isn't something that you'll be able to notice anyway. We are making micro millisecond choices every nth of a second that goes by. Thousands of millions of billions of choices a minute that we don't even realize that we're making. The fact that I just even talked about choices was a choice. There's a timeline where I don't choose that word and I choose a different word, and it takes me on a completely different path and takes you and that version of you listening to it on a completely different path. It's all possible. It's all open. You get to decide what you pour your energy into. And you should be pouring yourself into something that feeds you back. And that is the vibe. Find something more fulfilling. You can have it and you can be paid well for it. It will require you to take a risk. But a calculated one. So sit on that. All right, 2. All right. Connecting with your energy 2. I'm actually being shown a mountainscape, but it's in a like a it feels kind of otherworldly, so it's not like a location that I've been to or that I can kind of point out. But there's a huge mountain range, and then in front of it is a valley, and this sort of valley it's green in some spaces and it's sort of worn out in others, and it looks like it's going through changes of time, over time. And similar to this landscape that I'm connecting to here and the energy of it, you're recognizing now through the things that you are starting to conclude. You're starting to get some loose ends tied up on a part of your life that you feel is leaving. You feel yourself kind of detaching from it, like you're looking to go somewhere a little different. Similar to one is a bit more situational and more about feeling a sense of purpose. With you guys in 2, this is more about actually cultivating that energy within yourself. There's a real desire for creativity that wants to be expressed. And also it wants to be expressed in a way that allows you to kind of memorialize the things that you've gone through recently. So perhaps there's a story to tell around this sort of closing or this chapter. Perhaps there's a documentation process, whether that's images that you've taken, things you might have created or written, things that remind you of a person or a place that is part of this process. Your inner child is looking to find a way to kind of crystallize and memorialize this phase of life before you move on to something else. And it's this space that keeps kind of pulling you back. And there's a feeling of, not yet, let's stay a little longer, or I want to see more, or I'm not ready to go yet. There's really a feeling of like, like little kids when they don't want to go to sleep and they will come up with 500 different reasons to stay up or to get out of bed and come talk to you and spend time with you. That's what's happening here, is the feeling within yourself is actually asking you to come back and hold on, like really get the juice out of this moment, really savor where you're at before you move on to the next space, because you're going to wish you spent a little more time, that you spent more time in the present moment of it, because you're going to miss it. But not because you're going to look back and wish you were still there. Understand that there's a difference. You're going to miss it because it's a part of you that only you can connect with right now, and that's you right now. And this you right now will not be you in the future. It will be a version of you, but not the you that you are now. Do you follow me? I think you do. All right, 3. Oh, Chrysacola, you beauty. Okay. Connecting with your energy 3. I'm actually feeling like I'm squeezed in the chest. You're truly working through the last gasps here of a really heavy grief cycle. In order to get to where you want to be next, and you're almost there. It's like you're bridging. I see you standing, the concept of you, standing across like a chasm where one foot is on either side. You know, like the guys that like parkour and freaking buildings, and they're like kind of standing in between the two, like, ooh, look at me, I can walk between these two. That's kind of what's happening here, is that you're in between spaces and you're looking to move to a different area. You're looking to transition from where you were to a different space. But in order for you to get to that next step, you have to close the door on the feelings, the emotional like shedding that this previous space has left you. This previous, and for some of you it's a position, for some of you it is an identity, personality, behaviors connected to the identity, the role, the personality. Okay. And that's something that has fluctuated. It's not so black and white, and you're in more of the grayscale. Think of last week. Okay, they're saying that last week, consider last week's midweek message for those of you who are in 3, and whatever it is you picked, or maybe you need to go back and listen again. But the conclusion here is through the emotional processing that you're doing. It might feel like this is never ending and you're never going to stop feeling the heaviness. It's being cast off here. It's almost as if I'm seeing like an arrow, and then, you know, the trajectory of an arrow is with all of the kinetic energy that is parceled in the back of it through the draw, right? So as you're pulling that back, it does feel like you're going backwards, but you will be catapulted and jettisoned forward into something at a greater velocity than you would have if you had not been pulled back so far. So just know that you're in the releasing stage. The tension is there. What will move through will allow you to get to the other side of this. Let yourself fully purge out all of the feelings around this so you can come out cleaner on the other side, lighter and less encumbered with other people's bullshit and expectations. That's directly to some people. Okay? All right. Moving on to 4. One of my faves. Ooh. Okay. If you chose 4, there's a feeling of doubt that's kind of coming from yourself. It's a it feels self-sabotagey. So if we look across the other choices this week, it's all about moving from a space of where you think you want to be to somewhere else. Something's holding you back from truly feeling into what it is that you want. And what's occurring here for you in 4, it's more about returning to a more confident version of yourself, a version of yourself that was more sure-footed, that felt more in their convictions. And there's some wavering there. And this wavering is understandable because the energy is kind of lending to it. You're in a sense in a squeeze about it. And when I say squeeze, I mean that like everything is kind of forcing you to either sit and deal with it, not going in a way that's allowing you space to not put your face right up on it. You can't help it. It keeps coming back around again. And it seems cyclical. understand that some of this is a perception thing, and actually most of it's a perception thing, where that feeling of not good enough, or I'm not going to be able to do as much, or they're going to see right through me, or imposter syndrome kind of vibes, where you might be pumping your brakes and not producing as much because you are sure that they wouldn't expect that from you, or you wouldn't be able to keep that up long term. There's a lot of shoulds and conditions around the way that you're behaving and acting, and that's not going to serve you, because all it's doing is reinforcing the feelings that you have about yourself. It's not what other people have. When we're confronted with obstacles in our environment, a lot of times it's a shill, it's a smokescreen. It is us projecting ourselves out there as a different version, as a problem, as an obstacle, as a challenge. And with all of our sticky and gross oozy wounds, and saying, hey, here's some Bactine for you, and stings like a mofo. So, yes, the situation that you've been dealing with is frustrating, but I'm going to ask you, are you making it more difficult by kind of beating yourself up and not allowing yourself to kind of step into your authority and your inner power? You get to say what you think and feel and believe, and there's a reason why you have a voice. You're supposed to use it, and you will be counted, so don't feel like you won't be. It's important to express all of yourself, and there's a part of you that was kind of taught to kind of keep things under wraps, or to play small, or to, don't get your hopes up. We don't have time for that anymore. That's not the energy, and that's never your vibe. It was something that you kind of just went, okay, this is how we're supposed to act, and kind of lobbed off parts of yourself. No more. Stand up. Use your whole voice. Be your whole self. And know that you, being you, is the coolest thing you could ever be. And it is the most badass, most confident, most authentic, awesome, vulnerable, beautiful, terrible, handsome, ugly thing. And you're supposed to be all of it. And you being all of you allows other people to be all of them, which allows all of us to truly use all of our capacity and to heal a lot of shit that we've been carrying around, but stuff that is not ours, or by people that have put shit on us. And we don't need to continue and perpetuate that moving forward. And that's for everybody. Okay? All right. So those are the messages this week. We'd love to hear how they land for you, so please leave me some feedback. Would love to work with you, so please reach out at my website. As I said before, feel free to reach out with questions. I'm happy to create custom things for you as well, and I'm working on having something a little more streamlined so you're able to see what that looks like. Okay? So thank you so much. Have a great night. Make sure you utilize this moon. If you're interested in working with the energies of the moon, I highly recommend writing down your intentions and the things that you want to let go, and make sure that you intentionally put that out there. It's the best way for you to complete the cycle and say that this is no longer what I want. Here's what I do, and thank you for the opportunity, this or better. All right. Have an awesome one. Peace.